Now, this is not good. Yes, sir. Cuéntanos.
Cuéntanos. Cuéntanos.
Semi-office.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, fellow engineers. You are all welcome to the engineering center. Today's business is very precise. We are going to conduct the second meeting. And last year we had the first one, which told us that the project would start. Some were very cynical, but this year has come, the project is finished. Today we are here for full disclosure. The chief resident engineer himself is going to give us small this room here we have exits. We have two exits. Use this one. So if for some reason you need to use the washroom, the doors are on the exits. If for any reason you must evacuate here, we will ask you to give your name and then use the exits. but we don't really anticipate in impact. Without much, I will call some. Our presenter is prepared, so please give us a minute or two when he's ready. I will invite him to speak to us. Those of you online, can you hear me, please? Can anybody at least just say hi so that I'm sure that we are reaching our audience online?
Hi, we can hear you, but it's not very audible.
Is there anybody online? Please.
Hello, we can hear you loud and clear now. Hello?
Can you come again, please? Is there anybody online who can hear me?
Yes, Engineer Chair, Kofinti here. I can hear you loud and clear.
Ah, Kofi, good, good. Good to see that you are at post listening. Today's presentation will be given by Engineer Kwabena Bempong, Kwabena Jima Bempong, immediate past president of the Ghana Institution of Engineering. He also is the chief resident engineer for this motorway reconstruction project. So he's the most appropriate person to handle the topic. And he's a very, very competent public speaker. So I'm sure today's delivery will be, as usual, quite good. Kwabena, are you ready?
Yes, I am. And thank you very much for inviting me. The way I intend for us to start this, you didn't start even with a prayer. Oh, I'm sorry. So who will help us and pray? Please go ahead.
We commit our program into your hands. We pray that you begin with us, continue with us, and end with us successfully. In Jesus' mighty name, I pray with thanksgiving. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much for coming. And I would like, on behalf of my team, who are very well represented here, Maripoma Enterprises Limited, with CR5, who are working with them. Then we have there's a consultant who I'll be showing to you very soon, that is Associated Consultants, whom I'm the Chief Executive Officer, and I double also as the Chief Resident Engineer for the project. I have my resident engineers here, Mr. Tete, and then Dr. Kofi. Where is he? Okay, yeah. So these are my resident engineers. They are on site daily. So I have come here as part of as you mentioned, the Highway Engineering Series, so that we get to understand some of the things that are going around us, especially as engineers. You know, I'm on a platform where I see some people give certain interpretations to things that are being done, and I marvel. Ghanaians understand it with confidence in error, and it amazes me. But then the question that I always...
Engineer Bempong, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we cannot see, we only see a building here, so I don't know what...
See what?
It's just a building, a structure. We're not seeing you live.
Is this you cannot see me live? Please.
Yes, the video is off.
Okay. Yeah.
No, the video will come on. It will come on. I'm just giving some introductory remarks before, because apparently he says I cannot play the video from here, otherwise you don't have the sound. This is a documentary that we did before the project started. And we have two variants. We have the short version, which is only 10 minutes, and then a longer version, which is 1 hour. But I intend to show you the 10-minute version, after which I will make the presentation, and then we will take questions. So I was saying that, are you ready? Or you want to copy? No, be careful. That's not the presentation. No, that's not it. I put, yeah. It's in my beer. Is that what you're oh. Okay, all right, sorry. I just canceled. Yeah, so I will show the 10-minute presentation or documentary. One of the things that we do for our project is to document everything that we are doing. So we have documentary before, during, and then after, so that we can use that also for the purposes of education and also especially for the young ones who are coming. If, for instance, we had what happened in 1964-65 when the motorway was constructed, we would not be struggling. I happen to have had the opportunity of working on the motorway in 2016 when we did the widening of the Tema roundabout. If those of you remember, we used to have a 2-lane roundabout. We changed it into a 3-lane rigid. We spent some $6 million. We had a change coming. Very unfortunate. It did do something, but it did do something, but then it was destroyed, money down the drain. Unfortunately, that's what happened. So what I intend to do this evening is to walk us through first the contract itself, the background to the contract, and then we will go into some contractual details, and then we'll look at the design. After the design, we'll get into the construction and what we have done up to date. So that is the way I intend this presentation to follow. So I'm just waiting for him to set up the video. Are you ready? Almost. Okay. Well, whilst we wait for him, let us have some conversations. So sometime back, I've forgotten the year, but then there had been a lot of agitation about the Accra Tema Motorway, which was constructed during late President Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's era, sometime in 1964. It was opened in 1965. Now, after that, we were basically not doing any maintenance. Even though we know that for rigid pavement, the maintenance is really very small. However, if you do not maintain it, it is going to deteriorate. And there are for such pavements. Unlike pavements, concrete or rigid pavement usually has a lifespan of between 40 and 50 years. So from 1965, if you add 50, that will be 2015. Is that not true? If you add 40, that will give us 2005. And 2015, we are in 2025. So that pavement has been around for 60 years. I think it has done well. But it has gone past its design life. Because at the time when it was constructed, we did not have the kind of loading that we are experiencing today. And today in Ghana, the kind of loading, and I mean axle loading, is mind-boggling. We have had the opportunity of measuring axle loads, and sometimes they are double the permitted axle weight. In Ghana and West Africa, we've all agreed. In Ghana, it used to be 10 kilonewton per axle. We went up, in the West African sub-region to 13 kilonewton per axle. As I speak to you now, we can measure in excess of 23, 24, 28. Now, we begin to ask ourselves, why is it that our pavements are failing prematurely? They are failing because pavements, unlike other building, structural elements, are not, the life is not measured in years. And I will explain that. It is measured in the number of repeated standard axles. So if, for instance, we have designed a pavement for 300 million or, okay, let me use it, 300 million standard axles. Okay, and usually the axle weight is calculated over the standard and is to a fourth power. So the increment from, let's say, 1 to 4 is not just a geometric increase, it is exponential. And if you remember some of your analysis and all those things, you know that exponential does not go linearly. Okay, it gets to a point where it begins to move abnormally. Now, when that happens, it is then possible that within a short period of time, let's say you design for 15 years, you do your traffic projection based on the standard axle weights and then the number of, or the percentage of trucks. We don't care about what we call the passenger cars. They don't do anything to the pavement. And you know what I mean by passenger cars. Your saloon vehicles, they don't do anything. But those heavily laden trucks coming from Tema and going to Tema ports, they are the real animals, on the road who tend to destroy our pavement. So then what then happens is that, I don't want to make it too, I have some calculations there. You see, it's late in the evening and you don't want to, but don't worry, I'll give you a lot of pictures so that when you go home you can sleep. But then I just want to make a statement whilst we wait for the video, such that these pavements or these loading tend to cause us to prematurely load our pavements to their expected life within a shorter time than what we have calculated for. I don't know whether you get me. We will design pavements usually for, let's say, 15 years. 15 years, you need to do some rehabilitation, and then that would lift it up maybe another 5 years, and then you have a longer. But then you've designed for 15 years, then within the pavement would have reached its design life. Okay, well, are you ready? But then let's move on. So sometime back, we had the government thought or to have what we call a PPP arrangement, public-private partnership arrangement, where the private investor would invest money into the construction of the project of the Accra Tema Motorway, and then they will be expected to collect tolls. How much tolls were we paying at the time? 50 pesos for the small vehicles, and it goes up to, I think, 50 Ghana cedis for the big trucks. Once you invest money, you expect to have return, and probably you're going to invest with some debt and some equity, and all those things have to be paid for. I don't think that with a concrete pavement, you are going to get any green financing. So we got Motor Angel and some other companies, Group 5 and all these companies came together and then said they were going to look for money. Unfortunately for them, they were unable to find money on the market because this was going to be the first PPP project in the road sector. There hasn't been any project like that where the private sector would invest its money into a project. But remember that when the private sector invests, somebody has to pay for it. And with your 50 pesos and 1 cedi and 50 Ghana cedis, it would have taken, you'll be given a concession period of probably 10 years. How are you going to do that? So there was a need for us to review the tolling policy so that, but then, politics. After some time, even the minister said that no more tolling, and then we close our tolling. So now if you do that, how can you attract private capital? That wasn't going to happen. So that broke down, and after it had broken down because they could not find money, the government decided, that is through the Ministry of Finance, to find another vehicle to deliver the project. And what vehicle did they go for? Do you know the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, GhIE? Okay, so GhIE was approached that GhIE, is it possible that you can raise capital on the international market to finance this project? At the time, they were talking in excess of $400 million. They tried, and because we did not have that track record, it was impossible to get the money. So they said, okay, then we are going to form a special purpose vehicle company, where that special purpose vehicle is limited. And AT Express, which we shorten as ATL, will now become the concessionaire, and the Ministry of Roads and Highways will be the one to give the concession to them, so that then they will become the employer. And then the contracting agent will be the Ghana Highway Authority. And of course, the Ghana Highway Authority has a lot of work doing. So they said you need to get a consultant who will be your agent, and then you transfer all your responsibilities to them. That is how Associated Consultants Limited, an infrastructure development company, came on board. And we started this project in December of last year. So we are just about 1 year into the project. And we have employed a team of experts. We are over 20 experts, including technicians and others who are on the project, excluding the drivers, who are on the project working to deliver this project within 3 years. Now, the contractor, so again, we then needed to find a contract. Oh, you guys, are you not ready? Are you ready? Okay, we needed to find a way in which we will deliver it. And we know we have the various contracting forms. You're welcome, Mr. President. And we opted for the silver book. The silver book, is red, yellow, green, white is for consultants, gold, blue, and we call it the rainbow suit. But then this one, the PPP, usually is delivered. Not usually. What we wanted to do is to use the silver book, where we would employ an EPC contractor. And the EPC contractor is Maripoma Enterprises Limited, who is a wholly Ghanaian-owned company, construction company. And he was brought on to undertake the design. You see, EPC means that they will engineer, procure, and construct. And he has the responsibility for undertaking all the detailed design of the project. Please, you can play so that I can continue after the...
Open to traffic in November 1965 to link the industrial city of Tema to Accra and modeled after Germany's autobahns, the Accra Tema Motorway is West Africa's premier. Beyond its design life and capacity, the once pristine expressway has become riddled with potholes and contributing via.
One needs to be extra careful when driving on the Accra Tema Motorway. The road, which was constructed over 50 years ago, has become very difficult to drive on because it has been taken over by potholes, patches, and bumps.
Apart from the factories, Martin Esiedunate also throws a spotlight on the Tema Motorway, one of Kwame Nkrumah's foremost projects. Take a look.
57 years since its construction, no major work has been undertaken on the stretch. It was constructed by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's administration in 1964 and opened to motorists a year after. It is the foremost link between the harbour city of Tema and Accra.
This strategic asset, delivered by Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, requires an upgrade that will usher Ghana into a new dawn of connectivity where businesses and economic activities thrive through reliable road network. This must be done with limited to no interruption to daily activity of road users. This led to conceptualization of the Accra Tema Motorway and Extensions PPP
right-hand side
project, which
from
is
Tema
a
to
circa
Accra.
27.7 kilometer project N6 and N1 as follows. Section 1. The 19.5 kilometer Accra Tema Motorway and extensions on the Liberation Road from Old Polo Junction to Emmanuel I Clinic Junction. Section 2. The 5.7 kilometer George Bush Highway to Apenkwa Interchange. Section 3. N6 linking to the N1 2.5 kilometers from Tesanos through Apenkwa Interchange to Neoplan. The Accra Tema Motorway and Extensions project could not have come at a better time. Fast forward to 2024, the government cut short for the commencement of the reconstruction of the 19.5 kilometer Accra Tema Motorway and Extensions PPP project. This was pursuant to a strategic decision to deliver the project under a public-private partnership. This novelty in Ghana's road sector is underpinned by a concession agreement between the government of Ghana, acting through Ghana Highway Authority, and ATE Expressway Limited, where the latter is responsible for the financing, construction, operation and maintenance of the road for 30 years. ATE Expressway Limited, a creation of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, ensures that maximum funds are raised from the market, but majority ownership remains with GhIE on behalf of the Ghanaian people.
I express my heartfelt gratitude to the officials and professionals from the Ministry of Roads and Highways, the Ministry of Finance, the Office of the Attorney General, Ghana Infrastructure Consultants, whose tireless efforts have brought us to this moment.
It is instructive to note that the Accra Tema Motorway, which has served the country since its construction,
interchange all the way to Accra Mall, which is what everybody knows as the Accra Tema Motorway itself. It also then extends to Apenkwa, and then from Apenkwa there's a 2.5 kilometer stretch to Neoplan.
There are three sections. We have section 1, which is comprises of the Accra Motorway, and then it goes to Polo, the old Polo section on the, I think that's the Liberation Road, and then on the N4, that is the Medina Road, it goes to Emmanuel I Clinic, where we are going to provide some form of overpasses or interchanges at the intersections. Yes. And then the main road, that is the Accra Tema Motorway, has two distinct.
The 19, which spans from Tetekwashi Interchange to Tema Interchange. This section is a 2x2 lane dual pavement. It is currently in fair to poor condition. It is accessed via 3 interchanges, Tetekwashi, Achaman, and Tema, and direct access points on the eastbound. The Tetekwashi interchange is currently a major bottleneck. Traffic flow on the N1 is severely impeded during morning and evening peak hours due to inadequate exit capacity onto the N4 Liberation Road, which runs below the N1. The Accra Mall further disrupts traffic. Between University Farms and the Ashaman underpass, the close spacing of access points suggests the need for a service road to consolidate entry. Additionally, there is significant north-south movement as a barrier. Currently, only 2 single-lane underpasses, originally designed for cattle, are available for such crossings, causing
day in, day out, there's an accident on the motorway. This is due to the using the tunnel. First, that tunnel, it was meant for animals to pass there. Now that there's settlements here, government needs to expand the tunnel so that human beings will also have free movement there.
Motors was one side. I think when you were going in, I think the outer lane, now port was major port in Ketenkete. Also, but the quota but now also my challenge because it turning into bumping. It's also more solve but not turning into bumping. Now and also na higher accident in issue the American say we say motorway no many private drivers no you new on it. And I say so bubu kakra bia na eswire. So when you speed there was so let's say bia photos as an American I be turning into ramp for pena atwe na obi ato ne car twene na ade ade. But yeah, regular road users there we know how to handle it.
For now it's very bad. In fact, it's a very valuable road that was left to us
has been quite remarkable. As I said, he's on track according to the works program. Indeed, the first 6 months has been designated for the design. But because he is a local contractor, he has sort of been able to combine the design period with some early works, as we can see.
Key components of the 19.5-kilometer phase of the project include reconstruction of 2 fully access-controlled 2-lane concrete paved expressways, construction of 2 partially access-controlled 3-lane asphaltic paved urban highways on either side of the expressway serving as service roads, reconstruction of Tetekwashi interchange, construction of Teshi Link interchange, construction of Community 18 interchange, construction of Lashibi interchange, construction of 8 tolls but likely to be converted into electronic tolling gates, construction of 10 pedestrian crossing points, traffic improvement works at Lagos Avenue, Lagos Link, north of Tetekwashi interchange, rehabilitation and widening of Liberation Road to Polo Club and construction of an overpass to Polo Club south of the Accra Tema Motorway and extensions project.
The project in there very good because when you think of future, they are a boy, but for now, I think say contractor may say, oh yeah, a little bit hurry.
Oh, the expansion of the road, at least it will ease a lot of traffic. That is one main thing on this road now. Sometimes around early in the morning, from let's say 6:30 p.m. Early in the morning, 6:30 a.m. going, serious traffic. That is going and coming.
We will engage government at any opportunity that we have to tell them that the right thing should be done. And with the pedestrians and drivers, as I said, education. Once they are made aware that if they do the right thing, accidents wouldn't happen. And then even they are also part of the maintenance, because if you are driving and then you park anyhow, leakages and other things, that also affects the quality of the road. So education and then getting them to do the right thing. And we as traditional leaders will also put in our voice, add our voice to it to ensure that the right thing is done. Study work should be a no-no.
No matter which government is in power, at least if we are able to appreciate the agency or the importance of projects and see the need. If you read political meanings into everything, we will not make any headway. So it's important to observe this principle of continuity. That will guarantee a better atmosphere for us to live in. There are provisions enshrined in the contracts awarded to them. They must go strictly by the details of the contract. There are times people sign GhIE agreement only to do something at variance with what they signed for. My appeal to them is that Ghana is going very fast. So we must be abreast with technology and make sure we offer the necessary technical know-how to make sure things are done properly.
We call them GhIE barriers, those big concrete things that you see. Those are the demarcating barriers that we have for now. And what we are doing now, sometimes the reflective part is gone, so we are repainting. And we are actually in the night, you will see some light on those GhIE barriers. So that is just for safety measures.
We have a team, a dedicated and fight team on the ground who are ensuring works. We add that a lot of the challenges that sometimes we have with the road deterioration also has to do with the use, because roads are designed for a specific purpose, obviously for transportation, for specific weight class, for specific number. So my appeal to motorists is that please let's exercise the greatest caution on this road whilst construction is going on, because we are constructing not for ourselves, we are constructing for you, and therefore there's a need for us to collaborate and to work together for the good of the country. Okay, for the good of the country, we will continue. Thank you very much for engaging us. I'll go on to, I think that the chairman of the Civil Technical Division would like to make an announcement. Is he around?
Thank you. A small announcement, please. As part of our processes for these kind of activities, we need to take data on participants. So what is going to happen is I will pass a sheet around as he's talking, and then please give us your contact details. For those of you online, if you look in the chat box, we are going to put a QR code, and then you can register. We implore all of you who are listening, please register so that we get the data on the people who are participating in this activity. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so we've seen the video, and that will make my work very easy so that I'm not going to repeat all that seen and heard. But then just to deepen the understanding with a face-to-face presentation like this, I will mention them again, but then I will not spend too much time on them. Okay, so by way of the outline of this evening's presentation, we've already given the introduction. I'll give you the project details and background, the geometric design for those who are interested, and then I will go into the design scheme and the elements of the design. We will take a look at the pavement structure because you heard that this was being constructed using Portland cement. We'll get to know whether we are using Portland cement alone, and I'm sure you'll be asking why concrete. And then we'll look at the progress of works to today. I know for those of you who have passed this road, you may have seen quite a lot of work, going on. But then it's all jagged up, and you probably might not be aware of. And we will then talk about our challenges, because when we are doing these things, some people think that everything is smooth sailing. I know for you engineers, that road construction in Ghana is not that easy, especially when you are working in an urban area. So we'll then go on to give our conclusions. We already know who the employer and the funding agency is. You heard that this is a PPP. I know some people have questioned that where is the other P? I did mention to you that, yes, the private sector is reluctant because they foresee risk when this has never been done before. So the special purpose vehicle company, that is the AT Expressway, is fully funding the phase one. Okay, that is the construction of the phase one. And I'll be explaining to you, and I guess you've seen we have phases 2 and 3. But then they will fully fund the phase one through GhIE, that's the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund. And they will then go to the market, because the market will see that, yes, we've been able to construct 19.5 kilometers of the 27.7 kilometer road. So they would come forward, and I understand some people had shown interest until a few things happened. So that then they will come and put their money for the rest of the project. And then there's also the operations and maintenance part. They will take care of the operations and maintenance, and then will be responsible for collecting monies so that they will be able to get the investment or a return on their investment over the 30-year period. And we know that the concession agreement is for 30 years. We have not tried it, but there are other countries who used it in building airports. Some of the big airports that we see around, they are not built with the government's money, because government's budgetary allocation cannot deliver effective infrastructure. Something that can be delivered within 2 years. If you go with government financing, It is going to take 10 years. We have been on projects where we've spent 10 years. We just finished the ECR lots 5 and 6. We spent 10 years. Yendi Road, 10 years. We were on Kuma to Yeji, another 10 years. Accra Kumasi, even the small one that we are doing, it's taking how many years? So many years. But Pocos Interchange, we delivered that one within 3 years because of financing. So if we are not careful, these things will not help us. And this would have been a very good opportunity for the country to use other capitals from elsewhere to deliver infrastructure projects. And then we, the people of the country, be better off. But that is for another discussion or conversation. The Ghana Highway Authority is the contracting agent and also the employer's representative. So they wear two caps. So here, the Minister of Roads and Highways is not the employer, as you would in other projects. And then, as you also heard, Associated Consultants Limited is the employer's representative's agent. All these things, when you go to FIDIC, you will not find it, but Ghana we day. Okay, so please don't ask me where that came from. And then Maripoma Enterprise Limited is the EPC contractor. So these are the details, that's the contractual details of the project. You have all of that, and I'm sure you'll be interested in when it was awarded in March 2024, and the commencement was in August 2024. It is scheduled to be completed in August 2027, and as we said, it is a 1,095-day contract. Consultant came in, and so far we've spent 486 days, and that is the contract price. Some people are only interested in the contract price. It's 338.9 million with a tax component of 54 million, making a total price of 393 million. So far, we've done about 30% of the project. The project background, I've mentioned a few of things already, but then suffice to say that this is part of the national. Whenever you're going to say routes and routes, you mix them, but you know. So let's say route, Ghana. So the Ghana routes 1, which is the N1, which we all know, N4, which is the Ebri Road from Tetekwashi, and then the N6, that is the Accra Kumasi Road, and of course it continues. And then the other arterials, we mentioned the Liberation Road and the others. Okay. The whole idea is that you also want to improve mobility and accessibility within this area of the Accra, Tema, Ebri, and the Samam roads, and also to enhance regional integration. Those of you who know, this is the main routes from our eastern neighbors to our western neighbors, Togo, all the way to those northern. Yes, not that. If you want to go to La Côte d'Ivoire, this is the route that would actually, the N1 continues all the way to La Côte d'Ivoire. And if you also want to branch off on the N6 to go to Burkina Faso, Niger, and some parts of La Côte d'Ivoire, route to use. By way of the overall goal, what do we want to achieve with this project? We want to provide an integrated, efficient, cost-effective, and sustainable transportation system which responds to the needs of the society, supporting growth and poverty reduction, and capable of establishing and maintaining Ghana as a hub of West Africa. Currently, our landlocked countries in the northern, including even portions of La Côte d'Ivoire, use this corridor their station for cutting their goods, you know, from the ports of Tema all the way to their countries. So that is the overall goal. And we also want to enhance urban mobility and regional integration, provide sufficient and affordable transport services, because you know that it is not only a transfer, or it doesn't have only the transfer function. It is also serving the needs of those within. So some use the road as access to their homes. Others use it for moving from one city to the other. But for generally, there are some who do not have any business doing in Achimota or in Accra per se, or they are going all the way to Kumasi or to Burkina Faso. They are also impacted of this project. Then we also want to improve the livelihood of the people in the project's area of influence and to ease the traffic congestion that we currently experience on these routes that I mentioned earlier. So let's look at the details. We have already seen that already, so I will not much. This is a coastal, route N1, and moving. We know the N1 goes all the way to Togo to La Côte d'Ivoire, but we are constructing the section from Tema to Accra. That is the Kwashi. And then our project has 3 distinct areas. We've heard that already. The first 19.5 kilometer section from Tema to the Tetekwashi, and then the 5.7 kilometer, of course, including portions of the Liberation Road and then the Lagos Avenue. And then we will also take the section from that is what we call the George Walker Bush, highway, from Tetekwashi all the way to Apenkwa interchange around Achimota. And then we have the 3 from Tesano all the way to Neoplan. So these are the 3 distinct sections, 5.7 and 2.5 kilometers. And our scope, I think we saw that we want to rehabilitate and expand to a minimum of 10-lane divided highway as a minimum and comply to the level of service requirements. And it has the following, again, I'll give you all those things. 2 full access controlled 2 expressway. So currently the rigid pavement, when I say rigid pavement, I mean the concrete, okay? So the concrete paved section will be an expressway, which is a 2-lane dual carriageway. And then we'll have a 3-lane urban highway, and that is going to be in asphalt. So that is what we will call the service road. So the service road will be, and that one will not be access controlled. So that is where all the things, I was going to say nonsense, but I will not say it. But then on the main expressway, no bugger wire. Okay. Once you get there, you see, this is where they have different needs and the functions are different. One is just to transfer, others maybe for other needs, not the expressway. Okay. And then we have a number of, you heard the cross. And please, Ghana, we will provide these things, but some people will still be killed because they will not go over the pedestrian overpasses. They are too wise and they think they are smart. But we do all sorts of things on the N4. We made a lot of noise. They burnt tires. They did demonstration. After, you see people still crossing. I see them crossing the N6. They cross under the footbridge. What's wrong with us? Anyway. And then there will be the construction of a new axle load station. Then we'll have, this one is another thing, about the tolls. Remember we said we're going to provide 10 tolling points. Up to now, we have not been able to take a decision as to how we are going, because we don't have a tolling policy. And this one will need to be able to pay for tolling. Okay? That 50% and those things would have to change. But then in doing that, the minister has told us that they want to provide e-tolling facility. You pass through, your number plate is captured through some electronic means, you pay. No, about 60% went and paid. 60% went and paid. Ghana. Now, one money free. So it is important for us to note that. And then, of course, we are rehabilitating, some sections, and then job will interchange. That will be the sections 2 and section 3. But I will not talk about that now. That is for the future. So these are the distinct sections: the 19.5, the 5.7, and then the 2.5. So this is to new plan. This is going to the Tekwashe and then to Tema. So that is how we have divided it. So this is just a summary. We will have a 2-lane expressway, 3-lane urban highway, 4 interchanges, including the Tekwashe, 10 pedestrian crossings, 8 toll plazas. We will enhance road traffic, especially on the Lagos Avenue and the many years ago, I visited a certain country, and as a student, it was a shock for me. They had only about 30 kilometers of highway, and they had a whole operations and maintenance yard, which had everything. You see, so here the KPIs might be that from the appearance of a pothole to the repair of that pothole is, let's say, 24 hours. So if anything happens, it is repaired immediately. A stitch in time, Ghana, a stitch in, okay. Again, still trying to push down what we are doing. So we are having various elements of the general layout, and you see the various facilities are provided. You have the Tekwashe, which we all know. There are footbridges at various locations. Teshi Link interchange comes first. We have various footbridges along then the Lashibi. We know the Lashibi. We know interchange or okay. Then one We are not touching it, so that is not going to happen. So let us just look a little bit at the geometric profiles. So I'm just showing you a plan. This is the flower pot, kilometer 2, plus 800 to 3 plus 0. So that has been completed, and we can see the profile there. And then we have the another one here at kilometer 5 plus 700 to 6. That is a tertiary link that will join to Manet. So the main carriageway will be in there, that is the expressway, and then the urban highways will be on either side. So if, for instance, you wanted to go back, you can just come to the runabout. This is what we call the dumbbell interchange, or yeah. So you come here, and then you can go out again. Or if you want to continue to the various locations, this one will link you to the Sprinters Road. Okay, now let us look at the existing rigid pavement will be maintained, but then we will do more like an overlay. But this overlay has been designed, so you have concrete. So this is the 2-lane in the concrete, but then asphalt will be on the urban highway. But then there are certain sections which are going to be mixed. So we have mixed use sections so that it will allow you to change from, let's say, the service road or the urban highway into the expressway or vice versa. So maybe you want to get off somewhere, you can come in there and then make. So that's where you'll find all the 5 lanes, together. And we have them at either end of the Accra Tema Motorway. Okay, so continuing Tetekwashi, I told you that we are expanding Tetekwashi. And for those of you who have passed through Tetekwashi, we have already finished with the substructure. We are preparing to, we will launch the superstructure very soon. Once the beams are ready, we are using T-beams. I'll show you some interesting construction details. Well, just schematic, so you know the process of undertaking these. So tertiary link, currently there's no connection. Okay, so we have to demolish some house, and that will link to that area. This is how it's going to look like. So when the Tetekwashi is completed, this is how it will be. We have, okay. Let me see whether this works. Now, once you get here, it wouldn't show. But anyway. So let's move on. I can show here. So currently, this is what we are doing, this one and that. The middle one is already existing. So we are adding bridge on either side of the existing motorway. So this is how the construction would look like. So we started with the, to do piling, which is a deep foundation. Because Tetekwashi is underlain by rocks. So all we needed was to do spread footings. So the spread footing would be, and then on the spread footing, you will have your piers. So the piers will go, and then you have your beam seats, number 3, and then your abutments. We've done all of that. I'm sure you see. We've also painted. That black paint is for waterproofing. And then we would have our T-beams. These T-beams will be going to be launched. I'm sure you've seen some cranes being constructed or being erected, I should say, being erected there. We will produce the T-beams there, and then they will be transported, okay, to the bridge. They are mostly on, I think that's, when you are going towards Tema, it is to the, so that's how it's constructed. And as you can, typical foundation, okay. And then your piers, and then your beam seats, and all that is clearly shown. Then for the underpasses, I believe you have seen some work going on there. Some of them are very far advanced, and we have done quite diversions, but if you look carefully. So we started by first building those on the urban highways on either side of the motorway. Once they were completed, we diverted traffic, and then we started working, on the road. So that's why we are going round it. So this is the cross section of what we are doing there. Slab of 1 meter, and those, there. And I'll show you some pictures so for those who do not use that section to have an understanding of what is happening. Also, before this, of course, Committee 18, that links to the All African Games Road. That is all the way to, we call it University Farms Road. University Farms Road, that will go to School Junction and goes all the way to Pokwase. The good news is that the to that School Junction will also receive some works, construction. It's also going to be an 8-lane construction, and I'm hoping that within the shortest possible time. We are starting the studies from the beginning of next year. Okay. So again, when we are done, this is how, you remember there's something like this here. Okay, this oval roundabout, we are going to enhance it so that it will allow for a connection to, this road has already been constructed. Okay, so we are going to link it, and then that will go all the way to the University Farms Road. Then the Lashibi interchange. As for Lashibi, we know those going to Claghorn. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. So once we are done, that we have not gone too far, but at least some work has been done. We will have a look at it. So this is how that is also going to be done. So the before stage and then the proposed. Okay. So again, for you to see how the cross sections are going to look like, all these ones have been constructed. Again, for traffic management, because we could have just blocked the road, but unfortunately for some of the roads in Ghana, we don't have alternatives. Okay, we just have to manage the construction to ensure that the traffic is properly managed. And that is how the cross section is going to be to look like. These ones, those who try to overload and cross Ghana, our height limit is supposed to be maximum 5.5. But you go around Achimota, everywhere, they are hitting, we call them bridge strikes. They are striking loading. And I remember when we were doing the Pokwase interchange, I said for a post-tension bridge, it has a lot of energy stored in it. And if there's a bridge strike, if you're not careful, it could blast like a bomb. It has happened before. You cause a relaxation of the tendons. There are tendons in them. And you cause anything, it can. So we lifted it to 6 meters. We would want to test. Oh, then look, you see, when you work in the road sector, and I believe sometimes you wonder, and they are the same people. You know what they can't say? You are the ones causing the problem, then you come here and then you blame engineers. Well, engineers too, we also have some of us are trying, okay? And I remember just a few days ago on radio, no, TV, somebody asked me, why is it our roads are failing? And what I told you earlier on, I poured it out, and some more. But that will be a discussion. Again, Lashibi is going to look like. So they are all, similar. Now we have about 3 river bridges. There are bridges at various sessions. And there also we are providing, currently what you find out there is that they are, some of them are proper bridges, others are just culverts. And there have been times when they have been overtopped. And, when you are, what we do of course, we take care of the change, and what we do is that we design for 50-year return period, and the return period can happen tomorrow. The 50-year return period, 100 years, you want to find out what would happen in case the 200-year design flood. So this is how this is done. Other smaller covers, and then you test for, I think, 100 years. I'm not a drainage engineer, but at least I hear them saying it. And of course, I understand what they have been saying. Okay, so that is how that will look like. So there we are using T-beams, and we are raising the road, raising it to have enough capacity to pass the design flood. So the cross, these are T-beams. T-beams. Some of them are 40 meters. The span. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that's what we have there. He's the resident engineer for bridges. Okay. This gentleman, I met him in China. He speaks Chinese like something. So he's working with us. Okay. Let's look at the other bridges. So for the bridges, this is how these are single span that is simply supported, bridges from up. That's are continuously supported beams. But even that, it is still simply supported. Or in this case, from abutment to abutment. And I've already explained this already, so let us move on. But here, you see something here. Do you see a difference here? Who has noted any difference? Piling. So here we have piling, because that portion of the road has a lot of black cotton clay. I'm sure those of you are quite deep. They are very, very deep. I think you've been doing, 20 meters, 20, piles. And these are not even end-bearing piles. Because end-bearing, you probably go and meet the competent rock. But here, you will be friction piles. Okay, so we are using piles. So we have a group of piles, and then there's a pile cap, and then on top of the pile cap, we're building abutments. So this is the difference with the Tetekwashi, where Tetekwashi is wholly underlain by rock, igneous rock, or granite. If you remember, there was a big issue during the construction of the Tetekwashi interchange. For those of you who were minded to know, at that time, the consultant, they did their work. They did not expect to find that volume of rock there. And when the contractor came to site, during the excavation, we realized that there was rock. And the guy said, hallelujah. And somebody will say, amen. Okay. You see, you are a good citizen, because the amen would have meant that you supported the ripping us off. But anyway, of course, in contract administration, there's no good person. Okay? Dog bite dog. It's a battle of wits. If you don't, so they ended up developing or using that place as a quarry for the of the bridge. And even the crushed rock and everything was from there. They didn't need to travel. So the government also came to some agreement that we are using the product. Let us trade off. But if they had no use for it, that would have been money. money, they will go to the bank laughing. Okay, then I also mentioned the fact that we have footbridges. These footbridges, what we call asset barrier-free design, which means is that it has opportunity for persons with disability to be able to cross without any challenge. So that's where you have the ramps here, and then your limbs. So that is how this is going to look like. And I'm sure you have seen already some of the piers springing up like mushrooms overnight. So when you go there, you find that. How many have we done so far? About 4 or 3? 3, yes, 3. But they are, and all these ones are on piles. They are all on piles. These piles are generally deep foundations. They are all on piles. So that's something I will take note of. So again, just to show you this various parts, the ramp piers, central piers, the deck, the ramp, the stairs, and everything. This is how we undertake the construction of these structures. I think so far I'm doing well. I'm not bringing in too many equations, so this one pictures you will remember. Okay. Okay. Then we also have a number of cross culverts or cross drainage structures. So we have pipe culverts and then box culverts. And all these culverts, when you go, you realize that we've demolished all the existing culverts and building new ones. So again, we are doing that in view of the challenge of overtopping, okay? And then looking into the future. Now, we do not design using historical data and then projecting it in. No, we now would say that, yes, historically, this is what has happened. And that's why these ones have been there. But then looking into the future, there's a lot of development coming around. The runoff is going to increase. Extreme rain events. Now it's been raining, but nowadays sometimes the rain in December is very, very heavy. In the past, I don't think it was raining that heavily in December, but now it is raining. Even yesterday it rained. I'm sure today it might have rained. So we are taking care of all of these to ensure that the structures that we put there for the next 200 years, it will still be working. Okay. Then we also have some longitudinal drainage structures. And here we are using U-drains. We have curbs that would ensure that we have gutters that will take off the water or runoff water from the road. So this one is road drainage. The water, so that's why you have maybe 450, 600, 900 drains. They are not storm drains. These are road drains to shed off water from the road. Because if the road gets flooded or you don't have adequate drainage, you know what is going to happen? At space, you have what we call aquaplaning. And aquaplaning, you lose friction on the road and you sing the song, Nearer My God to Thee. Okay. I didn't mention about these toll booths. This is what we were planning of having a number of tolling stations or booths so that the challenge that we had previously where you have to go and queue and then destroy the pavement. Because whenever you reduce speeds on roads, you see, when we are designing roads, the pavement for roads, the loading are transient. They are not permanent loads like you have in buildings. They are transient, they are moving loads. So they are not supposed to be sitting on it. If they are sitting on it, that's where you would have the oils, the fuel, and all the other things dripping. And then, especially for the bituminous surface roads, within a short time. That's why when you go around, you see them. Where we have speed humps, the impacts, they all destroy our roads. But the safety people to say we need to provide it, because our drivers, when you are supposed to drive at 50 kilometers per hour in town, they'll drive at 102.3 kilometers per hour. And that's in event. So here we have quite a number of, I don't remember the number, but probably 16 or so. Has somebody counted? Oh, me, if I were sitting there, I would have counted. Oh. Okay. How many? 16. Okay, so it is still in my head. Because I counted some time ago. This one just came. Anyway, but as I mentioned to you, you are thinking that we should provide gantries. Recently, I was telling the minister that I was in South Africa, and I saw these gantries. So I asked the driver who was taking me, he says, oh, this one, they did it for tolling, but we say won't pay. He said don't pay. So it has become a white elephant. The cameras and everything, the infrastructure has been built, but they say a lie, you know, go pay. Ain't ya? So I said, but if you have this one, if you don't pay, you can't move. So you'll be, yes, there'll be the tolling, the e-tolling, okay? Accra Kumasi, sorry, Accra Tema had some e-tolling points. Because when I was working there, all you needed to do was to have the transponder in your car. When you get there, it communicates, and then there's a deduct value of money or whatever points, and then you pass. And then with time, it will deteriorate, and then you would just go down. Yes. And then I also mentioned the administrative facilities. So there'll be administrative facilities that will be provided for O&M. Then we also have weighbridge at various locations. So now let's look at the pavement design. Okay, this one, please, you don't look at it, okay? Just for you to know that, because you see, there are some engineers, they like, if they don't see, they would say that, buy a crown and cash it. But when they go, they will see, oh, Charlie, the guy talk power. See the calculation. So we have some calculations for, and then at least to show you that some of these projections were taken into consideration in undertaking, because for concrete pavement design, you have to consider traffic. That is a main load. It's just like load and response and material. So the traffic analysis was undertaken. Growth rates were looked at, and then the various allocation of traffic onto the expressway and the urban highway were also done. Here you can see that the ESALs, remember I talked about the cumulative loading. So for the design period of 20 years, the ESALs, equivalent standard axle loads, cumulatively was about 150 or let's say 146 million standard axles for the expressway, and about the same for the mixed-use areas where you have all the 5 lanes together. These are the elements that go into the design of pavements. And okay, so this is the actual design equation, but we also have other equations that are used to estimate this loading. Sometimes you do actual weighing of the vehicle axles. We have portable weighing bridges that we use in weigh, and that's where we find out that a lot of people are overweight. And invariably, we have axle loading points where the axle loads are checked. But I don't know whether you heard recently that they are now going to increase the amount or the penalty. Who heard it? Do you know how much you are going to pay? Now, do you know how much it is? It is 5,000. If you overload now, you pay 50,000. So if your fare is worth that, well, and the minister gave a joke that, you see, sometimes they do things, you understand? They do things. The hearer must understand. If you don't understand, yes. Then if you don't get it, you don't get it. Okay, so then what then happens is that if you got 50,000 and you are ready to pay 20,000 as bribe, well, so we have done these calculations and we've come out with the various thicknesses. You see, this tells you that pavements are designed. They are structural elements and they are designed. We don't just, from the top of our head, say, oh, 150, 150, even though 150 used to be a magic number in engineering. And slabs are 150. Pavement sub-base is 150. Everything is 150. 6 inches. Okay. So we've done that and we've come up with certain thicknesses of pavement. Here we are looking at 300 millimeters of pavement for the concrete. But then that is, yeah. But then the contractor also suggestions to pavement, and that is being looked at. But for now, we also have the asphalt and everything else. So that is the pavement you have for the asphalt. That is where you have, where is it? Okay, this is for, now there's something very interesting. You see on top of the existing pavement, okay? Now because it is cracked, what we have done is that we have surveyed the entire road. Wherever there are, you see, what happens is that pavements, because they are jointed, the joints must always be sealed. If they are not sealed, and that is the question of maintenance, water enters and then there is pumping. The fines will come out. When the fines come out, there will be, I don't know what to say, gaps, or is it gap or holes under the slab. And once the vehicle goes over it, sometimes it will break. So that's why you see some of those break, especially along the edges. You see a 45-degree, break or faulting. So what we do is that wherever we have some challenges like this, the existing slab will be removed. Okay, the slab there, I think is 12 by 4, 12 by 3. They will be removed because it's also reinforced. They're removed and repaired. So we will repair all these ones before we put on another layer. Otherwise, we will have what we call reflective cracking. So to avoid the reflective cracking, we have these layers there so that they would take the crack, and we call them crack absorbers. They'll take the cracks so that the cracks do not reflect in the new pavement. Otherwise, you put it there and it will, that's what is going to happen. So I did mention that there was an alternative concrete pavement design where we'll put in, so that's why it is called jointed reinforced concrete pavement slab. And there it could reduce, but I've not yet accepted that because they've not proven to me what they want to do. Okay. So the asphalt too will have our wearing costs. Okay. Okay, so this is our wearing cost for the urban highway and the binder cost, crushed stone base, cement stabilized sub base, and then naturally occurring gravel sub base. So what is the total thickness of the pavement? This is what we call the pavement. Okay. Below it will be the subgrade. So the total is what? 540 plus 150, 690. Yeah. And then some of the slip roads would also have, something like that. Okay. So what is the key message? Is that we've designed such that it will deliver a durable, long life pavement that will be able to handle the heavy traffic volumes, improve safety, and reduce the future maintenance needs. But I believe that you also know that the Abidjan-Lagos corridor passes through Ghana. Almost 60 or 70% passes through Ghana. Okay? And when that also comes, that is likely to reduce the volumes on this new road that we are constructing. That is to the north of the motorway. It will not come through here. And maybe when the new Accra-Kumasi Expressway is completed, that would I don't think it will take traffic from here. That one, it will not. Because that one, the alignment is different. Okay, so let's look at some more in terms of the urban highway. This is the pavement structure. So whatever you see there now, we are just we have done the earthworks. We've done up to what we call the formation level. So it is on this formation level that we'll have this structure, okay, to form the entire pavement of the motorway. That is why recently I was talking to a classmate of mine who is a professor in South Africa. He says, now we are even moving away from these designs, put so much emphasis on design. You can design the best that you want, but then construction supervision. That is why you need to ensure that the selection of materials. We are getting the good materials, and then we are ensuring that we are going according to all in terms of the quality assurance and then the quality control. They are very well managed. Otherwise, some people bring asphalt and it's already bent, because asphalt is supposed to be laid at a certain temperature, compacted at a certain temperature. Somebody will come, the temperature would either be too low or too high. The bitumen would already be bent. It is DOA. Okay, it's dead on arrival. It will not stand the test of time. It will not stand. So these are things that we need to be careful. And I'm speaking to my contractors and the supervisors. It's very, very important, because otherwise, we'll do all these nice things, but they don't last. And I don't think that is what we want to be seen as engineers or engineering practitioners doing. Okay, so let's look at the progress of work. Okay, no, I'll not worry you with this. Let's go straight to the pictures. So that we have 20 box culverts. We've started with 15, and the 15 we've not completed any, because we are currently working on either side of the existing motorway. And also we have 3 bridges. You remember I told you we started with all the 3. We have not finished. We have a number of the box covers are not, but then in terms of the interchanges, we finished with the substructural concrete works for the Tetekwashi interchange, for the one around kilometer 6 plus 080. That is the tertiary link. We are working on the retaining walls, because the Accra Tema, you see, when you have too many projects, sometimes they mix in your memory. So the Accra Tema Motorway would go over the crossings, so that those who are overloaded will not be having those bridge strikes that we mentioned. And then the same is here. So we can see that we've started doing the retaining walls around these areas. And they are moving very nicely. Then, so that's it. We've worked on, so these are the boxes on either side, the right-hand side and then the left-hand side. I think that you started working somewhere in we've started working in the middle. So this picture is even old. Yeah. Then Committee 18 too, similarly, we've done quite a lot of work there. Very soon we'll be able to join them. Okay. So just showing some of the works and how we do them. This is the concreting operation using the concrete pump. Committee 18, retaining walls. So on Committee 18. And then the bridge, remember I talked about piling. These are piles, where are they? Yeah, the piling rigs. We have the 2 types. We have the drilling and then with the percussion. So we are using the percussion, method. So we'll not go into the details, but if you want the details, we can talk about it. Yeah. So they've done quite a number of them already. This one is getting to the end. Okay. This area, we had to do some, especially around here. When we came to site, the foundation was hanging. Yeah, it was hanging. So we put some concrete to support it. So this road, if we had left it, it would have failed. And you know, there was one bridge which failed some time back. Okay, it failed some time back. So it's a good project. It's come timely, okay, to save us all the challenges. So some of the box culverts. So you see, we do work on either side of the road, and then once it's completed, we can move traffic. So it is all trying to juggle between the traffic, because this is a live road, and it is probably the heaviest loaded road in Ghana in terms of traffic volumes, and even the axle loads, because it's to the port. Over 50,000 vehicles, or about 60,000 vehicles, ply that road every day. So it is very, very, so yes. Okay. We'll just show you some of the works there. And then these are you can see the U-drain and also the earthworks. So these are all earthworks that we are currently working on. Still piling. So you see, this is the piling cage. Can you see this? That is still the steel cage. So we drill a hole and put the reinforcement in there and put concrete. That's all. Nothing serious. And these are some of the piles. Yeah. So the piling rigs are on either side. Yeah. So the subgrade filling or the earthworks have all been done, and we continue to do that. We've already started. Have you completed the sub-base testing? First layer, okay. So once that is done, because you see, everything that we do, we have to try. So there's always a trial session for pavements. We want to ensure that the equipment that they intend to use will be efficient, and we will be able to get the quality that we want in terms of compaction and everything else. So, you know, we have to go to, even the asphalt, we have to do a trial session. The concrete, we would do a trial session before we lay it, so that we will have that assurance that when we get to, because there's no trial and error once we start the work, because you cannot finish and come and demolish. The public will think that we are wasting money, even though we would have asked the contractor to demolish at its cost. Some people may not. And now we've democratized drones. So when you go to the social media, you see them, and they all have their own narratives. We don't put them there. They know the project more than ourselves. You see it and you wonder whether they are talking about the same project. They know it, then they are engineers, pocket engineers. Okay. So just showing what we have done so far. And one distinct thing in this area is that we have the black cotton clays. You know, in the southeastern portion of Ghana, you have these clays. And these are very, very expansive. What that means is that when water gets into it, it expands like GhIE, okay? And when it expands, any structure in it's so strong, any structure in its path will have to give way. Whether it is a building or it is a road, it will. And then during the wet seasons, and it becomes very hard when it's exposed to the weather during the dry season. When it gets into water, it becomes very soft. So they are highly susceptible to moisture. Okay? So we have to, for roads, we have to make sure that we take them out and build a pavement on top of it. So, and we'll do even crushed rock to ensure that where there is water, water does not rise through capillary action. Because when you have clays, fine materials, you might not even have high groundwater, through capillary action into your pavement. And then there are three enemies to roads, pavements. I hope you know them. The first one is what? And the second, and the third. So avoid water at all costs. I have good students here. Okay, so in this case, we will do something like this. Because once you have very coarse-grained rocks, you cannot have capillary action. It will not happen. This one is science. You remember that tube that we use in the laboratory? Capillary tube. That is the way it works. So after that, we'll put on our material just like we do that. And we are getting most of these materials from the Pokwase area. Yeah, that is for the earthworks. Where do you what is the name of the area? Katapo. It's close to Pokwase. All those Pokwase hills, we are cutting them and bringing them in. And then we sell the land. So you come and... Okay, so you see, rock fill to ensure the longevity of our road infrastructure. So if anything should happen, the foundation should not fail. Maybe it is the surface. That's why we are designing for 20-year, what we call the 20-year design period. When it is time for rehabilitation, we don't need to go down. We only come and do either resurfacing or overlay, and we are good to go. But then if you don't design well, there are some roads, when you pass on it, it will be undulating like that. That one is a structural failure. That's why it says it's a structural failure. And when there's a structural failure, you have to go down and undertake your structural repairs. So what are the challenges for me working on roads? This has always been our challenge. And we seem not to have a handle over it because our politicians are always in a hurry. Go. But their challenge is go. And we have our marching orders. And you go, and then there's electricity, or there are electricity lines to be relocated. There are water lines. And these are, for instance, on the Tema Road, we have transmission mains from Kong Headworks. Okay? These 800 millimeter pipes, they have to be, and double, they have to be relocated. And a lot of the time, when this project is different, but then for some of the bank financed or the MDBs, when they finance the projects, the relocation of utilities has to be borne by the government of Ghana, GOG. And you know the pressure on GOG, the project will never get done. And then if you go to the Ashaman to Akosombo, that is a challenge we are having. They are huge pylons. Maybe those ones should be probably 33. Some are 165, 161, and they have to be relocated. They are huge 1 meter pipes in the road, in the right of way. They have to be relocated. We've not touched them as I speak to you now. So we are trying to maneuver where there's space, we work. And then the contractors are going home laughing. And the minister said, why do we do that to ourselves? Anyway, then persons, road affected, okay, persons are project affected persons. There are some people, you see, the Accra Tema Motorway, pardon me, the Accra Tema Motorway, the right of way is supposed to be 304.8 meters. That is 1,000 feet. That is the right of way. Today, and it is properly acquired. There's an EI on it, the executive instrument acquiring it. Now, we reduced it to 90 meters. Even the 90 meters, some people have encroached. I remember one gentleman tried to take us to court. And when we brought out the EI, he actually summoned us to court. When we brought the EI, and then, for law, you have to have exchange of documents. When he saw the documents, he stopped. You see, but now who calls up? We have metropolitan and municipal assemblies. Domingo is here. Domingo, you say you are not part of it. It happened, but it is true. They have done, and again, it starts from the Lands Commission. They have a name, what do they call it? Rezoning. They've done rezoning. And some people, I saw them, whilst we were constructing, people were moving their fence walls. And you know, and even as I speak to you now, for the MDBs, when you go in and you want to demolish somebody's house, you have to pay compensation. So the challenge that we have on the Ofankor Road, when we started demolishing, because in 2005, they had all been compensated. And there was an EI on it. But we started, then again, they took us to court over hundreds of cases. And once something is in court, you cannot do anything. Otherwise, you'll be falling foul of the law. Okay? You'll be cited for contempt. Wanted to put injunction, and it stayed for 2 years. Nothing could be done. And we said we will not pay, because we didn't even have the money to pay. But now the injunction application was not successful. So we've demolished the houses that we have to demolish. And that is why we are currently being able to continue with the work. So these are the three main challenges. Yes, of course, there's also the challenge of financing. This project shouldn't have suffered the challenges of financing, but I will not go into the details here, okay? It is too political for a small boy like me to talk about it, but we will leave it at that. So please don't ask me questions on it. Because when you ask me, I may answer and I will get into trouble. So please save me. So these are the challenges, and we need to have relocation of these utilities. So you can see we're trying to relocate these utilities along the road, and various, and ECG has been doing very well. ECG is one company I always doff my heart out to, because they will come out with explicit designs and help us in the supervision. Please, I've not mentioned any other utilities name. Don't go and say I said something. I'm only talking about ECG. Okay? Yeah. And in Ghana Water too, they've been doing well. Okay. But why? Don't you see the relocation? Yes. Eh? You are saying it. You know, I have to. They didn't give me water. So you see. Okay, so we have these quantities of water lines which are being relocated by another utilities relocation company. Okay, leave it. Don't talk too much about it. And then the project affected persons along the road, which will be affected, especially on the Liberation Road. And that is going to impact on whether we are able to construct the interchange there or not. It's dicey. Recently, I've seen them working there. I'm sure they've heard something. They started putting up some structures there. Okay, so these are some of the... We identify all of these things way ahead so that we work with them. So if you had money, we just pay them and move on if it is for acquisition. But if they have encroached, under normal circumstances, you must demolish the structures and then move on. But unfortunately, we cannot do that. So with this is what we expect our final product to look like when we are done. You look at this as if it is concrete, okay? Even though it looks like asphalt. This is a mixed session. now you can see the concrete. Remember that this is a 120 kilometers per hour speed limit, so we are driving very fast. So this has been designed in such a way that once you try to join at any of the interchanges, you have to go through a toll plaza, or you have to pay before you join the main road. Yeah. As for the main road, you only have the tolls at either ends of the highway. Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much.
Have you finished?
Yes, I have. So,
okay.
For those who came in late, we can play the 10 minutes whilst we ask our question.
10 minutes.
No, we are done. I think some people came in late. So let us play the documentary.
I had wanted to punish them so that people always come on time. That's how come we started at 5. You know me. Anyway, thank you very much, Chief Resident Engineer, Engineer Kwabena Jima Bempong, Immediate Past President, Fellow Ghana Institution of Engineers. Thank you very much. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of a few of our past presidents here. Accra, thank you, sir. We have
Open to traffic in November 1965 to link the industrial
welcome.
city of Tema to Accra and modeled after.
Thank you very much. At this juncture, I would like to state that I've observed that the room is almost full. These days, it's quite rare. So we thank you all for making time to physically come here. I am reliably informed that there are over 200 participants also online. So participants online, thank you very much. I hope everybody has registered. And for the record, this event or activity has been organized by the Civil Technical Division of the GhIE. And I'm currently the chairman. My name is Yawo Bin Kunedu, for those of you who don't know. Okay, so now that kwabena has unveiled it, we would open the floor if there are any clarifications. IPP.
Thank you so much for organizing this, and congratulations, kwabena. I saw that the last stretch, when it was moving so fast, on the right, on the left, it was all like white. This was to create optical illusion, right? Make it more beautiful than you could ever imagine. You know, why do you do that? Because you have greens and not some wide spread of snow or whatever it is. Number 2, are you, civil engineering group, going to take us around to see the thing? Because, you know, seeing is believing, one of my friends always said. Please try and conduct some tour of the. I would very much like to see these things and touch them, because I don't belong to your group. Okay? Thank you.
Interestingly enough, we have already had that session. Yes, we actually went there and they showed us the physical things, but the participation was quite low at that time. That's even. We will look at it again and see. You want to talk about the white background? I think I can even speak to that, Because at 120 kilometers per hour, if you go off the road, you are off. That's all he's telling you. Yes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but then I think it's also appropriate that I first acknowledge them whilst, before I started. My resident engineers, and then our contractors. We have some of our Chinese brothers who are working for Maripoma. Deputy project manager. Okay. Yeah. And
This novelty
project manager. Okay, project manager. And then my resident engineer for the roads, Manuel, and then Doc is also here. And I have my materials engineer, the quantity surveyor, Marian, Raphael. Who else? Where's Mrs. Jampo? Okay, yes.
Maximum funds are raised
who else?
from the market, but majority ownership remains with GhIE on behalf of the Ghanaian.
They are acknowledging, they are me to acknowledge. Our vice president is here. Our president-elect, engineer Sofia Tijani, is also in our midst. And who else wants to be acknowledged? Okay, any other questions, please? All of you are well acknowledged.
Good evening. Engineer, so my issue has to do with maintenance. I think if we look at one of the problems in Ghana, we can all testify to the fact that it's maintenance. A typical example is the KNMP, Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park, that was being built. If you go there recently, you see that it has started deteriorating. So what procedures of maintenance have been put in place or have been advised the government with to make sure that this road will stand the test of time? That's it.
Could we take about 2 more before he starts answering?
Is the concession company that has a 30-year concession.
Yeah, my name is Domingo. My interest is Tetekwashi interchange. I want to know what improvements you are making to increase the capacity at Tetekwashi interchange. Thank you.
Road corridor from what used to be the Tema roundabout, which is now the Tema interchange, all the way to Accra Mall, which everybody knows as the Accra.
Hello, my name is Hoffman Latte.
It also then extends.
I'm an architect, not an engineer. I noticed in the presentation that you've left out an area for amenities or emergencies, or if somebody wants to have a stopover to stretch the leg or fix the tires. Is there a particular reason why? And for 19 kilometers, you don't have any amenities, please?
It goes up to a manual item where we are going to provide some form of overpasses or interchanges at the intersections. Yes. And then the main road, that is the Accra Tema Motorway, has.
I was looking at the person, I wasn't sure. It's really hard. Sorry, that's great. Okay, so maintenance. I did mention that, you see, when you have a concession, the concession comes with KPIs. And the KPIs would have, I say KPIs, the key performance indicators. If you do not meet those KPIs, they are going to be deduct values. You pay. So the concessionaire, you see, this is something that we don't have. So yes, we can have the other roads that are supposed to be maintained by the Ghana Highway Authority, that is the agencies of the Ministry of Roads and Highways. But if they don't have money, nobody does anything to them. But here, we have a maintenance facility. We are building a maintenance facility as part of the project. Okay, so that when the KPIs are given to you, it means that if, like I mentioned, I gave an example, like KPI of, let's say, a crack. When there's a crack in the road, you are given, let's say, 7 days to ensure that that crack is sealed. If there's a pothole, you have to ensure that that pothole is sealed within 24 hours. If there's a traffic light that is not working, you are given maybe 2 hours. All these are key KPIs and they will be measured. So that is it. Now, on the question of, there's the second one has to do with Tetekwashi. Oh, yes. So Tetekwashi, the challenges that we have with Tetekwashi are, let's say, 3. One, the capacity of the interchange itself, and then the Lagos Avenue, that is the eye clinic. There's a traffic light there. Whenever there's traffic, it backs up and then comes into the interchange area. So those who are joining from the ramps are also impaired. Similarly, at the Old Polo Junction. So the idea is that we want to improve these junctions to encourage free flow of traffic so that the impact on all the traffic that we are bringing from Accra will reduce. But then, suffice to say that if we finish this project and we don't continue onto the George Walker Bush Highway, which is, that also has some 2-lane, but we don't use it that often. That's just a service road. If we don't do that, then remember you're going to bring so much traffic and there'll be a bottleneck. Also at the Fiesta Royal intersection. So you see, for roads, it's a network. You remove one problem and you go to another, but it is a continuum. Today we are doing this, but if we had money, we would have done all at the same time. But we cannot do that. Yes, and Architect Hoffman, this is a very, very good question. We, as part of this project, we don't have that. But then I remember some time back, we were supposed to have what we call, I remember the acronym TTV, Transportation Something Village. Okay, it was being sponsored by the Port, Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. But that has fallen, it was supposed to be just after the Ashaman interchange. When you are coming on the right-hand side, that whole area was supposed to be part of that project. We designed everything. We're working with architect Ralph Sutherland. We did all of that, but I don't know whether it will be done later on. So you are right. In Accra, we don't have this. But then they've tried to do something at the port area so that those trucks do not come there. But even now, when you get to Tema, you see the trucks parked there. So what you are saying is perfect. Or if you don't provide for them, they'll come and park. And you cannot blame them. I believe it is something that we know, but sometimes when there's a crunch, some things are put aside and hope that in the future another project will come and then we'll do it. But you are very, very right. Okay.
Wait, please. There are questions online, so we would like those online to ask their questions, and then we would continue. Mr. Brefu, they say stop playing the video. They can't hear. Okay, so Engineer KD Lai, I hear your hand is up. If you could ask your question, please. Engineer KD Lai, can you hear us? Please ask your question. Okay, Engineer Professor Adams, I hear you also want to ask a question. If you could ask your question.
Okay, thank you very much, and then good evening to everyone on the call. Very detailed presentation. I hope you can hear me.
Yes. Yeah, we can.
Good. I have more than 30 questions, but I try to type them in the chat box. But thank you for the very good question. So I'll start with what was asked by Domingo. Already we know that Tetekwashi has a big challenge on the ramp. When you are coming from the motorway and you are going downhill, you are going to Accra, it's a problem because in the evening peak, there's the backup of the queue all the way to the main line. This is something that if you go there now, you will see that it is happening. It's been happening for the last almost 10 years. Now, I think probably that's what he was asking about. So what innovation in the design, apart from widening the ramp, has been done? Because we know that it's a problem with cloverleaf. And if it is just widening, then the problem is going to only escalate. That's the first question. And number two, let me come to my substantive questions on pedestrians. Now, we know that you rightly observed that pedestrian crossings are an issue in the country. And we are building a 10-lane road to allow pedestrians to cross 10 lanes. Already, when you measure the pedestrian crossing at Medina, it's more than 120 meters for a pedestrian to cross. And the interval is 500 between any two. So if you have somebody at midpoint between any two of them, it means you have to walk 250 to the nearest one, walk 120 average across the road, and come back 250. And imagine school children, elderly people, and all of that. What provision has been made to ensure that this suffering of the pedestrian will be curtailed, to stop them from jumping barriers across a 10-lane road? My next question has to do with the pedestrian underpasses and overpasses. Will there be any kind of provision of light on the overhead for nighttime crossing? And are you considering solar lights or solar lift to enable persons with disability avoid long ramps over a 10-lane highway, so that they can just go into a lift, go up there, cross, even if it's 100, at least they cross it, then they go down? Because remember that different kinds of physical disabilities will mean that people in wheelchairs cannot go uphill on the normal ramps that are provided at these places. So when we are talking about persons with disability, let's be minded that there are people in wheelchair. Sometimes the wheelchair itself is already automatic. So if you provide a lift, they can go in, go up there, and without any assistance, they can get out by themselves. Now, pedestrian crossings, how are they linked to bus stops? Because the motorway is as equally a highway as it's an urban road, and there are public transport stops on it. So you have said that you have 7 crossing points for pedestrians. I don't know whether they are linked to bus stop, and are these bus stops well designed so that public transport will stop, and then without getting out of the bus stop, the pedestrian will be forced to go over the pedestrian crossing, or they are allowed to go wherever they want to go? Because if we do that, then we are setting the stage to kill people with the road. The next question.
Hey,
Okay.
Professor, the queue is long, Prof,
All right.
and the time
Okay.
is short. I beg
Okay.
you.
Okay. So you answer
Okay,
this one, then I'll come.
let me attempt to answer my past presidents. And I believe that after this, you will consider me for a PhD.
You answer and let me hear.
Okay, so he has asked very important questions, and these have to deal with the pedestrian. Now, the first question had to do with the fact that they have to cross 10 lanes. We did not do this in isolation. We have 10 overpasses or pedestrian footbridges. But then we did not just sit in the office to select them. We selected them with the stakeholders. So first, we identified where the pedestrians cross. And, Prof, you know that we do these studies to identify even the numbers who are crossing. If, let's say, if it were Pelican crossing, we want to know even the width of Pelican that you'll be using, the timing, and all of that. But in this case, we are using overhead crossing. And we dealt with all the stakeholders, including the assemblies. Domingo, you are in the assembly. Can you attest to that? Okay. Oh, yes. So we did that. And do you have any assembly members here? And my lady, you were in the midst of it. So we did a lot of consultation, because you cannot just go and put, otherwise we become white elephants. They will not use them. And then the next question is whether they are linked to the bus stops. The answer is yes. And these are well-designed bus stops on the urban highway. You remember I used a certain word, which I said I didn't want to use, because that is where all the stops would happen. Okay, at that time I said nonsense, but I didn't want to say that. Because, oh, did I? Okay, well, it is you who is saying it. So, yes, they are linked. And then the other one is to do with lighting. Oh, me, I'm particular about these things. So when you go to Pokwase, we have lighting on all our footbridges. But unfortunately, do you know what happened? They've stolen them. Yes. First, they removed the cables. And then later on, they said, well, if the light is not working, then we'll take the light too. So at the moment, I'm not very sure. But this one, I have not checked, but I believe we will need to have light because the road is going to be lit. Even the Accra Tema Motorway, almost every government comes, the first thing they do is to do the lighting. And then the next thing is that the owners of the road will take the cables. And then now they even use machine, dormer machine to cut the poles. Or haven't you seen them? You have clean cuts. Somebody has cut it. The fiber poles, they've all been cut down. If it were still, it would have been gone a long time. But it's fiber, so they don't like it. They just leave it there. Take the cables out. Some even steal the transformers. It happens. Oh, this one. And then the lifts. That is, the lifts, I very much agree with you. I'm not against it. But, well, you see, it is sometimes we would love to do certain things, but who is going to maintain it? Just a single lift here. If I tell you the amount of money we have to pay every year, it will marvel you. So let alone public infrastructure. Well, maybe it can always be done. So I will not say, because in other countries we have them. Okay? But Ghana we did. So, Prof, just as I was saying, these things that we say are very good suggestions, especially with the lift. But we will take it up. But so far as I'm concerned, this one we are not doing it. And then
what about the capacity of the ramp? Because that's a major problem at the moment.
The capacity?
Yes, because when you go to a motorway now, the ramps are always backflowing traffic to the main line on the motorway.
Oh, okay, let's go. Yeah. I answered that. That was the first answer that I gave, that we are looking also at the points where we have the challenges, that is the intersections, the Emmanuel Eye Clinic and the Old Polo Junction. Those are where those two traffic lights are. I think one is about 300 meters or so away. And these cause, traffic on the motorway itself. So that is something that we are looking at. And I also mentioned that if we don't, you see, the whole thing is, they are all linked. If you look at the Fiesta Royal, when the Fiesta Royal traffic light backs up, it is going to affect the interchange. Your ramps are also affected. You have the mall there with that roundabout. Everything is just, So what we are doing currently with this one is to deal with those two intersections and also to improve the capacity of the ramp.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Maybe I'll have some questions also concerning the maintenance. You said the road is being designed for 20 years. Let me make this my last question. It's a very important one. You said the design period is 20 years. Now, when you do a design period for 20 years, it means you cannot do an overlay in 20 years. The road would have already gone past the critical point of failure. So I'm not sure how this has been considered. Because what I know is that in Ghana, we build roads, then we wait for it to break apart. Then we reconstruct it at more than 20 times the cost of the road. I mean, all the roads apart from Takrady to Accra to Takrady that CP did. So Cape Coast to Takrady, that's the only road that was overlaid at the right time, more than 30 years ago. Every other road has been left to deteriorate and break and constructed at more than 10 times, but typically 20 times the cost. So my question is, this is a design. I am not sure whether it is the concessionaire who is building it or designing it. If he is not the one, then why didn't we rather give it to the concessionaire to do the EPC contract? And we are doing this. And then who is going in 5 years?
Okay. Well, I answered this question too. The concessionaire is going to be responsible for the maintenance, but the concessionaire is going to have an O&M contractor. The O&M contractor will be responsible for toll collection, will be responsible for meeting the KPIs, and the KPIs include the maintenance. You see, the structure of this construction, maybe don't look at it as if I'm not working for MRH. I'm working for the concessionaire, which is ATEL. You get it? So in this case, our bosses are not the MRH, where we will compare with what has been done. That's why we are saying that if we are able to have this kind of structure in our road investment portfolio, then it is going to help, because the private person knows that if I don't do it, I'm going to be charged. And in the financial modeling, all of these things have been taken into consideration, that after maybe 5 years, we will have to do a major rehabilitation. After 10 years, we may have to do some overlays, or we have to do some milling or full depth repair of the asphaltic pavement. As for the concrete pavement, the most important thing will be the joints, to ensure that the joints are sealed. If the joints are sealed, so that we don't have any ingress of water into it, then we are okay. But for flexible pavements, that is the major challenge. So if anything happens, if it is a structural repair, you have to repair it within a set time. So that is how it is working so far as this is concerned. That's why I'm saying that this is the first time we are ever going to do anything like this. But now we have our challenges. And I know we always talk about financing of road, or let's say road infrastructure. And this financing is difficult. Even this one, they've not been able to get the financing. So the 100% is being financed through the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, whose money is also coming from the consolidated fund. But you see, that is a dedicated fund. And that dedicated fund will be responsible for repayment. So it's as if they have been given a debt. This is not equity. The equity is in the space and the traffic that has been given to them. That's the demand. But when it comes to the financing, there should be debt. And that debt has to be repaid at whatever percentage. And that is what we are doing currently. But,
all right, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So,
thank you very much. Now my mic is working. I'm not a prof, so I have only 3 little questions. Number 1, most of us road users are quite disappointed with your diversion routes. And when my friends ask me, I say to them that generally there's a fund for that. I don't know what that fund is being used for, or whether you guys underprice that portion. That's number 1. Number 2, the IPP talked about the period for the concession being 30 years. So I'd like to know the design life of the project to see how much money the government can make after the 30 years. And the third and final question has to do with the interchanges and where he said they were going to be. I hope it's possible to get some form of a recording of sorts for us to listen to, and where we can ask further questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, so let me start with the diversions. I'm sorry for that, but we have consistently implored on the contractor to pave the diversions as we have it now. They've done that, and I remember at a meeting, I told them that when you do surface dressing, single bituminous surface dressing, it will go off within, I even said 6 months, but the volumes of traffic there is so high. They said we're going to do asphalt, but asphalt is also very expensive. Yes, we have some monies, but with the kind of diversions, you can see all this crash rock that they are hauling and doing. It's quite, high. But then we'll continue to maintain the traffic diversions. And like I always say, when there's construction, it's like doing an omelette. You have to break an egg. So please, we have to bear. But then that does not mean that we are going to take our motorists for granted. We would ensure that, and these are compliance issues, because the EPA requires that, for instance, dust. Was it today or yesterday? I put up yesterday. I put up a notice. I called one of you. Said, hey, there's so much dust. They'll bring it. But you see, the constant watering also deteriorates the pavement. So, but it has to be done. Okay, then let me see. The last one. Okay.
Okay. I think we
But
need.
you were not here. I talked about traffic management.
Yeah, I mean, maybe for purposes of emphasis.
Okay.
And those of us who are road users, we do suffer a lot when it comes to traffic in general. I mean, it's not just about the diversion, but the overall traffic management on the road. And in recent times, the traffic is serious. And we are suffering, those of us who live in Tema. So if you can, I'll come to my substantive question later on, but if you can tell us what you are doing about traffic going forward. Thank you.
Let's.
I think that the side people are here. You should.
Okay.
Because you see, when you see that, or directives, but some of these directives, and you see, we go for meetings, these are hammered upon daily. Because I am a stickler for informing public and especially about the safety and their comfort. Yes, we know that we will inconvenience them by all means. However, during the Tetekwashi, if you remember, we had all this on social media. We did nice videos, and it's nice. But the implementation is always a challenge. And dealing with our contractors is not easy. It's not easy at all. Yes.
Okay.
But then, should I finish answering those questions? Because
Have they been asked already?
KDLI, you know,
yeah, please finish that.
KDLI, you don't play with him like that. He's now a septuagenarian. Okay, so he talked about the concession. Yes, concession is 30 years. And again, I don't have the concession. In the concession agreement, there should be a certain residual value at the time or at the end of the concession period before you transfer to the government, and that becomes an asset of government. The government can decide that, okay, your concession period has ended, but then there's a clause, sometimes it is automatic clause for extension. So maybe there'll be another extension for 10, 15 years. These are all standard, things. KD.
Can we not make deductions?
Oh, yes. You see, now, OPRC, that is another format for construction, where they are, you call them deduct value. Yes. So, and that is only 5 years. The Tema project, more than that, because, okay, model that is used.
Most countries like
10 years. One of the things that we did when we were doing the motorway runoff, a lot of the time when the private sector comes into it, they bring innovation. Over there, do you know what they did? The contractor was required to take, yes, we had to take insurance on the project. So within 5 years, as opposed to what the FedEx contract will say, you have a defects notification period. 1 year, if it's a building, they say cycle of rainfall. The thing will not happen within 1 year. 1 year, he will do some minor repairs. But what about 5 years? 5 years, if there's a structural road, you will see it. And then it is also linked to your insurance. So the insurance companies will have to cater for that kind of thing. But our normal contracts do not allow this. That's why I would advocate, having worked in this sector for some time, I think that the public sector financing is not helping us. And we need to start thinking of, because you see, the GhIE cannot go and take, you see, I was talking about rain, but they cannot go and they cannot go to the market and get financing on their books. What books do they have? Or their balance sheet. They don't have anything. And now the sovereign has a problem. Ghana, is it this year or last year? Yeah, this year. We had only a cap of $250 million. 250 for the whole country. We cannot borrow beyond that. And we cannot continue to borrow ourselves out of poverty.
Okay, I take one more from online, then I come back into the room. Dr. Bedu Chunubwa, can you ask your question, please? Dr. Bedu Chunubwa.
Well, before he comes in, he asked about the interchanges. Well, I think that we probably were not there, but then we have, and I'm using interchanges advisedly, okay? We have the, okay, let's start from here. We have the Teshi link. Oh, no, okay, let's start from Tetekwashi, it's already there. So we have Tetekwashi, the Teshi link. We now have the flower pots. We have the Committee 18, and then the Lashibi. So, and then of course, the last one is the Ashaman. So now we have about 5 interchanges on the road. And if you remember what I told you is that in the past, we didn't have north-south movement. The Accra Tema Motorway had become a barrier. So if you wanted to move, you had to go to the end, 18 kilometers, going to the end to 10 just to do something by the roadside. That was inconvenient. So now you have a number of passes. And even I did not add the underpass at Action to the Sprinters Road. These are all available. And okay, somebody says the underpasses will be easier for use by pedestrians as opposed to the overpasses. Yeah, well, that is true. I remember my mother said she feared going over the Achimota overpass. So for such a person, what do? You maybe have to use Uber. But we have 10 footbridges. And for the various interchanges, those ones that I made, the 3, the pedestrians have a place for them to be able to use them as underpasses. Yeah. But like you see, we cannot provide 100, because everybody would want to cross at a point of convenience. Nobody wants to walk. But this is a major highway, and we need to be guided. And it's also a question of cost. Because you put these things, they will not even use it. Do they use them? They don't use them. Yes. Oh, my brother, I'm telling you that they cross, I've seen it, they cross under. When you go there, it is being used as a market. Go to, we did the circle to Achimota Road. Circle to Achimota Road, Malam, all of them, everywhere. No, the indiscipline is too much.
Monica says her hand was up. So, Monica, please ask your question. Then Dr. Chunibwa can come in.
Okay.
Monica, please ask your question. Otherwise, we have to move on, please. Dr. Chunibwa, are you now unmuted? Can you ask your question, please?
I am unmuted now. Can I go now, please?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I heard about the design life, and I think I had 20 years. But at the beginning, the presentation was awesome. Thank you. But at the beginning, you did mention that for the old motorway that was built by Nkrumah, it was probably 40. So my question is, why has it been halved to 20? So that's my question. And then the second one is a little one. You said you are spending about 400 and something million, so about $500 million on the cost. My question is, what percentage is going to the consultant and what percentage to the contractor for all this work? Thank you.
Okay, so the design life that I mentioned is for the asphaltic pavement, that is the flexible pavement. Usually it is 15 years. For the rigid pavement, it will be about 40 years. So, yes. But then, you see, these are for the purposes of design. But that doesn't mean that at 15 years, the road will no more be usable. And you want to see the brick. I told you that $338 million. That does not include the consultant's fee. If you want the consultant fee, you have to come and see me. And then, what again? Solar standalone street lighting instead of wired street light. Well, we've tried that. But remember, the CapEx for solar lighting is very high. And they steal the batteries. I did 300 solar lights on the Amasaman to CBD. And solar within 5 years, okay, the life span is about 5 years. After 5 years, you have to change the batteries. And nobody will change them. So let's go on something that we can maintenance, we can manage. Because now they have lithium batteries, but still. Okay. Well, now you're asking me a general question. That one we can talk about it. My boss is here, so.
Oh. No, I was just wondering, there's such a major road like the motorway. Was there any public hearing of the designs? Because that used to be the case, public hearing.
Well, you know that we came on board as design. Yeah. Design, I don't know if it wasn't done. Yeah. But then there are stakeholder consultations. At least I know a design that we did, we had public consultation. But you see, no matter what you do, if you don't go to them, they will not come. So it was better that when we came on board, we went to them. And Evelyn was spearheading, that. Where you had a lot of meetings with opinion leaders and then with stakeholders. And then we also have the, what do you even call it? The grievances. What is the name? I forgot it. We have redress mechanism. We have a grievance redress mechanism. Because you see, as I always say, we do not design roads for ourselves. Okay? It is not for me, it is for the public. So what the public desires is what we provide for them. Okay. Who bears the liability for failure of the current EPC contract? It is clear. These are all covered by securities. They are all covered by securities. Various, what is the contract? Okay, so they are all covered by securities. They are covered by securities. A concession does not include design and construct. It's okay for toll reduction, but if there is failure of the maintenance concession, will not take them. Prof is answering.
May I ask a question? Thank you. Thank you once again for.
Hello, can I ask my question?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, Engineer Bempong, very good presentation. I know it's a EPC contract you talk about, but I'm trying to understand the teams involved, and most in particular, you're talking about quality control and testing and all that. Do we have a third-party companies doing testing of the road, checking compaction, checking that is a concrete mixes and the asphalt and things like that? And then when we go to the piles and where the black cutting soils were found, did we do any borings, investigations to determine the thickness and the depth of the black cutting soils and all that, even though I understand you are not going with an end piles, but rather, go with what we call friction piles. And, I'm trying to get a better understanding, even though it's an existing motorway and you are doing an expansions and things like that, additional investigations needs to be done to confirm what we had before. Of course, you said you don't have any information on the original Tema Motorway design and things like that. And then my last question, of course, I have some other questions on the chat box, but my last question pertains to there is drainage and there is stormwater. You showed pictures of culverts and U-drains or whatever you guys call it over there in Ghana. but I'm trying to get a better understanding. Where does the water finally go to? Do we have stormwater retention ponds to collect these waters for them to infiltrate into the ground or even discharge into wetlands or other water bodies, rather than getting the water come off the road, and then we have some erosion and choking certain sections where the road eventually gets flooded. And I've seen this many times in the Accra, Kumasi, highway. Okay, so these are the questions I have. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, indeed, when I started, I did say that we have consultants who are responsible for the quality control. And obviously, you know the process that we'll go through in determining or undertaking quality control. The testing regimes are very clearly specified in our documents, what has to be done. But you see, in a purely EPC contract, you will not even have a consultant. You will not. If you read the civil book, we don't have consultants. Okay, we don't have. But this is different. This one, we have a consultant overlooking the work of the contractor. Okay, because you remember, we have two types of specifications: the method-related specification and then an end specification. That would have been an end specification. But here, we are interested in the processes leading to the delivery of the products. And that is why we have the MRH standard one has been published. So yes, the is that we have third party who are independent of the contractor nor the employer, and our responsibility is to ensure that the contractor does that which is right within the bounds of accuracy or accepted accuracy. Then you also talked about drainage. I told you that there are three main bridges. These are rivers, and these are the major drainage of the road. And remember that we are not just draining the road. These are cross culverts all the way from the Abri crossing the roads. I've forgotten the names of the rivers. Mahumama and all those rivers. They cross. And I mentioned to you that in the past, these crossings have been challenged as a result of the hydraulic capacity of the crossings. And in our design, we have taken care of this by designing for 50 years and checking for 200 years because of climate change. This I have already said. So this is what it is. I hope that is clear. Yeah.
Okay, can I go to my main question? Thank you very much. I think the we have on the motorway currently is that the traffic stream is very complex. We have a lot of aboboyas. We have the normal motorcycles and all those things. And, well, you're saying they are not supposed to be there. But whether we like it or not, because we've not provided for effective mass transportation system, they are now part of our transport stream, and we need to deal with that. How are we dealing with that in the new? Are we saying that we are going to take them off, or in your service lanes or highway, they are going to be there? But if they are going to there, how is it going to affect your design speed and also safety? Because most of the safety issues that we have on the motorway or even on our highway is mainly related to this aboboya. If you go to most of the hospitals now, the emergency centers are flooded with motorcycle related, and she's done a lot of work on motorcycles, amends, and all those things. And there's enough data, enough research to say that we need to deal with that. How are we dealing with that? this thing. And in answering that, sorry, the professor has 30 questions and only one.
You're also a professor.
In answering that, are there emergency, I don't know whether I missed that, emergency provision spots along the motorway or the new motorway? Thank you very much.
Well, I don't purport to speak for the Ministry of Roads and Highways. We have a project, and like the Akan will say, but I'm now speaking as a general highway engineer, and the questions that you asked are appropriate. However, these are controlled by policy, because, like I mentioned to you, the Accra, every time I want to say Accra, Kumasi comes, Accra Tema Motorway, when it was constructed, when you have a highway or an expressway, motorcycles and those kinds of are not supposed to be there. They are not part of the traffic. See, now the question is that, do we really have an expressway? It has changed. The function of that, because in the past, it was fenced. I wasn't there, but I remember when I came the first time, there was no access. It was access controlled. So I would add, yes, I mentioned that, that's why we have 3 lanes on the Urban Highway. Urban Highway has 3 lanes. Okay, so we even have mixed traffic use. Then that, you see, I always say that even if they leave 1 lane exclusive, and the intentionality comes from policy, because you cannot design
And we need to be intentional from safety and other perspectives.
But that is not late. That can always be done. That can always be done. But if you are doing it, then you have to control. Okay? You have to put in barriers. Because if you don't put in barriers, look, sometimes when you say this, then you begin to talk about history. But let's leave it. Because we did that for rapid, BRT type what? Type B. What happened? Look, I remember we went to South Africa. We went to get some stats that would prevent people from crossing. So, when you look at them, oh, yeah. But you see, if you also put in a barrier, you see, that's the thing. That was the thinking. If you put in a barrier, let's say a wall, and the vehicle breaks down, what happens? How do they come out? But that will be for another discussion. But for now, I think
I have a... Okay. First of all, I want to thank you for, once again, a beautiful presentation. It's a second presentation of yours that I'm attending this time around, and I really like the way you present. Thank you. Question, which is a little biased towards my business. So, you spoke about something important, is you can have the most perfect design you want, but construction supervision is very key. And I will also want to add that the execution also. And one way to ensure design is respected and delivered is through digital construction tools. So I want to ask if there are measures that are taken to implement digital construction workflows into what is being done. Because I drive that way always, and I can see that we don't have any machine control systems on the road. A lot of things are still being done the olden ways, and as a result of all this, usually you have a lot of waste, a lot of design variations, and the final results will not be as it's supposed to be. So that would be my question. Are there measures being put in place to ensure digital construction tools are being implemented? Thank you.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. For instance, our graders would have this kind of GPS systems that control the grading. You just feed in the values and then they will do that. Well, that is for the purpose of construction. This is not something that, as a consultant, I can control. But then when it comes to paving, you see, we have tolerances. As you go up the pavements, by the time you get to the wearing course, the tolerance becomes very, very tight. And you know, there's a tolerance figure in there, say +0. So in the neighborhood of 0, okay, as 0 approaches, or as the tolerance approaches 0. So yes, those ones, the equipment are controlled that way. But I don't know what they have now. They don't have that, because either we'll be using the string line. Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. The string line, but currently they are not here. So they've not started those ones, but I know they don't have. They don't have. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much, Engineer Bempong. So please, regarding the telecom infrastructure that you have, telecom, is there any provision actually, because you do a lot of relocations, and as you mentioned, maybe ECG has to come in Ghana Water, but is there any cooperation on that?
We have laid fiber optic cable along the entire route. Are you guys aware? There's a fiber optic cable. And now that is a policy of the Ministry of Roads and Highways. Doc, you are aware of the fiber optic cable? Fiber optic cable are laid along, or now like the national routes. Yes, yeah. And there's like a backbone, which is now then given to the telcos to, yeah. So there's something like that. And we they did it in the north. Yeah. And also Accra, Tema Motorway, we've done it. It has been done already by another company. Yes, sir. In Sawam Road, no. So the Sawam Road, it has been done by the telcos themselves. But this one, it is owned by the Ministry of Roads and Highways. At that time, we didn't have, that was 2000.
Next question.
Yeah, 2003.
I have a question. A lot has been considered in the design for the motorway expansion. But at the end of the day, people are going to drive on it. And my question is, has a road safety audit been done? And if not, this is a good stage to do one, because amendments can be made whilst it's still under construction. Yeah, that's
it. I think we will make provision for 2 more questions, and then we will have to call it a day. After our president-elect asks her questions, then we know that we are finishing.
Okay, you said 2 more, but I had 7. I'll reduce it to 3. Okay, I want to stand at the back and speak. Yes, Engineer Bempong, thank you very much for this education. I'm happy I attended. I've learned a lot. Select 3 questions out of the questions I have. The first one, are all the engineers and all the people that you work with on site, are they all licensed to practice in Ghana? That is question number 1. Question number 2, I'm sort of getting worried that gradually the public sector work is becoming not interesting, because we are giving all the works to consultants to do. I don't know to what extent, maybe you can tell us, to what extent we are involving the Ministry of Roads and Highways engineers in the supervision of construction. And I ask this from the point of view of capacity building, because you are doing all the fun stuff. I don't know what our engineers in MRH are doing. or the agencies, I don't know what they are doing. I mean, what measures are we putting in place to ensure that we are not denying them? Okay, I will leave it there. I know you understand where I'm going. The other question, please. I'm the president-elect. The last question, in Bempong, when do we hope to complete this work? Do we have enough money to complete? Thank you.
My president-elect and the former vice president always ask very difficult questions, seemingly easy, but they are not. So the first one, so let me start with yours. Yes, according to minimum MPSS, minimum performance standard specification, all stages of the design process should be subject to the requirements of GhIE Road Safety Audit Manual. We have just completed the drafts, the 5 stages, but not the pre. This one, we have just completed, and then the contractor, as part of the process, you see, what happens is that during the design, they engage a road safety audit, but then we need to have a report on that final thing, and we would bring it up. Okay. And then the second question with regards to the licensed engineers. Well, you know what the law says. If you work as an engineer and author documents and any other thing, you have to be licensed. At the moment, not all of them, but for our friends from China, they are working as contractors, but that is a different, discussion. Yes, but then for the engineers who author or design, and I can tell you, this design was undertaken by a local consulting firm. That is our current president, his firm. They undertook the design. And I'm explaining to you, so for design purposes, they are licensed, but for the construction, they are not, because they are not working as engineers per se. Now, with the third one, whether the consultants are not taking all the jobs. Consultants, we are suffering. No? We are suffering. Because, look, all our major consulting engineering firms have gone under the water. Look at, I don't want to mention names, but yes, the prominent ones, they don't have jobs. And even for those of us who have jobs, we are not being paid. Okay, I'm coming. I'll get there. So what happens is that, you can speak for it, we have counterpart staff from the agencies who are embedded, in the project team. So, for instance, our place, how many do we have currently? 2. Yes, they are more, we call them project coordinators. So they are with us. So whatever we are, and we are also expected to have training for them. We even have money for overseas training for these gentlemen and ladies. Yeah, so they are with us. And remember that whatever we do, they approve. Okay, so they should have design capacity. But don't. Okay.
Madam President-elect, the issue with public sector workers and consultants, etc., there are different roles that they play in the industry. Those public sector workers, GhIE, GUR, DFR, they are supposed to be regulators. So in our industry, we have the regulators, we have the consultants, and we have the contractors. People, and then the employer. People should stay in their lanes. It's true, they should stay in their lanes. More than 20 years ago, in my presidential address, I mentioned this issue of people infiltrating or moonlighting from one area to the other. If they were doing their regulation, we should not be having so many problems as we have now. They should be supervising the consultants. And when the consultants send their designs to them, they should spend time to review them so that we get good quality job. That's the way I see it. We should stay in our, be efficient in the things that we do so that the country will move forward. Thank you very much.
You see, okay, I don't want us to debate this, but what is happening now is that a lot of the works are being done by the agencies. The big push that you've heard, a lot of them have been, and I remember just a few days ago, I engaged the Minister for Roads and Highways. I said, hey, you cannot kick us out because we are also part of the ecosystem. Because if you are not careful, it will get to a time you will not have, consultants or consulting firms around to help in any works. And you find that in East Africa, when you go to certain East African countries, it's very important. It's a very important thing that you've raised. That's why I said it may look innocuous, it may look as if it is not anything, but it's a very, it goes to the core.
So the point I was trying to make is from the perspective of building capacity for the industry.
Well, they can build their capacity.
If they are not involved in that is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
If they are not involved in the works, I'm wondering whether going outside for training will cut it.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay, thank you very much for bringing us to this controversial end.
Completion. You see, this project, if it's August 2027, okay, I ask you that don't ask me certain questions. Or this one, it is cast in stone. It's not like other projects. They said no variation, nothing. August 2027, complete.
Thank you very much. I think all our questions inside this room have been exhausted. And even online too. Are there any questions online? They are also exhausted. Thank you very much. Then I think we have to give Engineer Bempong massive hand clap. Good. And then we also have to give ourselves a very massive clap. Thank you very much. And on behalf of the council, we thank all of you for spending time with us, for learning about what is going on. We hope in the future, when we have other interesting things like this, you show up. The next one we will try. This one is just try, but we are going to try and get a presentation on the proposed, what's it called? Accra Kumasi Expressway. We also have to have a presentation to understand how that one too will go. So that is our next target. Okay. So I think we have discharged our duty for the day. We deserve to go home and rest. And as typical of me, ask for a prayer from somebody here in assembled. Madam, please give us a prayer so that we can go with the blessing of God. Thank you very much.
Shall we please rise up and pray? Our Lord and Father, we thank you so much for the gift of life and the blessing of today, and this opportunity to hear and learn about this project, the Accra Tema Expressway. We thank you so much for the team that is working on this project and everyone who's contributing in other ways. We ask, O Lord, for wisdom for them as they continue to implement this project, that it will be completed on time, within budget, and its operation will be safe and achieve the goals, the objectives that is intended to. We give you thanks and praise, and we ask that you keep us safe as we all leave here and go to our various destinations. May you, O Lord, be glorified now and always. Amen.
Thank you. This session is closed. All of you online, thank you very much. And please make sure the next time we call you, you are here. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Open to traffic in November 1965 to link the industrial city of Tema to Accra and modeled after Germany's autobahns, the Accra-Tema Motorway is West Africa's premier concrete dual carriageway. 6 decades and 60,000 vehicles per day later, far beyond its design life and capacity, the once pristine expressway has become riddled with potholes and contributing to severe traffic congestion and vehicular accidents.
One needs to be extra careful when driving on the Accra-Tema Motorway. The road, which was constructed over 50 years ago, has become very difficult to drive on because it has been taken over by potholes, patches and bumps.
Apart from the factories, Martin Esiedudate also throws a spotlight on the Tema Motorway, one of Kwame Nkrumah's foremost projects. Take a look.
57 years since its construction, no major work has been undertaken on the stretch. It was constructed by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's administration in 1964 and opened to motorists a year after. It is the foremost link between the harbour city of Tema and Accra.
This strategic asset, delivered by Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, requires an upgrade that will usher Ghana into a new dawn of connectivity where businesses and economic activities thrive through reliable road network. This must be done with limited to no interruption to daily activities of road users. This led to the conceptualization of the Accra-Tema Motorway and Extensions PPP project, which is a circa 27.7 kilometer project composed of design and reconstruction of 3 sections of the national road network in Ghana, being 2 sections on the N1 and a related link between N6 and N1 as follows. Section 1. The 19.5 kilometer Accra-Tema Motorway and extensions on the Liberation Road from Old Polo Junction to Emmanuel I Clinic Junction. Section 2, the 5.7 kilometer George Bush Highway to Apenkwa Interchange. Section 3, N6 linking to the N1 2.5 kilometers from Tesanos through Apenkwa Interchange to Neoplan. The Accra-Tema Motorway and Extensions project could not have come at a better time. Fast forward to 2024, the government cut sword for the commencement of the reconstruction of the 19.5-kilometer Accra-Tema Motorway and Extensions PPP project. This was pursuant to a strategic decision to deliver the project under a public-private partnership. This novelty in Ghana's road sector is underpinned by a concession agreement between the government of Ghana, acting through Ghana Highway Authority, and ATE Expressway Limited, where the latter is responsible for the financing, construction, operation and maintenance of the road for 30 years. ATE Expressway Limited, a creation of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, ensures that maximum funds are raised from the market, but majority ownership remains with GhIE on behalf of the Ghanaian people.
I express my heartfelt gratitude to the officials and professionals from the Ministry of Roads and Highways, the Ministry of Finance, the Office of the Attorney General, the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, and their consultants, whose tireless efforts have brought us to this moment.
It is instructive to note that the Tema in 19 cement concrete, the same material that was used in the original construction to ensure durability and longevity.
The project aims to enhance regional integration and cooperation between Ghana and other ECOWAS member states by facilitating international traffic across borders.
GhIE is the shareholder of ATE Expressway, and ATE Expressway is the concession company. That's a 30